All right, guys, let's sort of recap Saturday, then we'll get into a little bit of Louisiana Tech moving as we move forward. You go back and you watch the game film, and you see a lot of things that you didn't like, but you see a lot of things that you do like. And I tell you, our team played awfully hard there in the first half, and a lot of times you forget that when you make mistakes or you don't score touchdowns, it's not always on you. Maybe it's not you didn't make mistakes. Sometimes the other team is pretty good too. And sometimes, if we were playing the Dallas Cowboys, people would say, "Man, y'all got stuffed on the run." And I said, "Well, yeah, we was playing the Dallas Cowboys, but we weren't playing the Dallas Cowboys, but we were playing a very good team in Akron, who's got one of the best front four that we'll face this year, with the exception probably of the team we're fixing to face with Louisiana Tech." Their front four was really good up front, gave us some issues, but we did get some things going there in the second quarter, and had a chance to tie the ball game. I thought that was the difference in the game. Had a chance to tie it, to go into halftime 14-14, and didn't get that done after a slow start by the offense in the first quarter, 2 3 and outs. I thought defensively in the first half, I thought we played really well defensively. Had a hard time tackling that big quarterback on the quarterback draw, but other than the quarterback draw, they didn't just kill us on too many other things than just on normal moving the football. But that was two big plays with the quarterback draw, and then the penalty on the 3rd and 11 that gave them an automatic first down. So the penalties were some issues. We got backed up on a couple of penalties in the kicking game. A couple of those I'm going to be sending into the MAC conference to get their interpretation. It's definitely not my interpretation, but unfortunately my interpretation doesn't matter, so I want to hear their official interpretation, because penalties do make a difference, starting at your own 6 as compared to starting at the 25. And other type of situations that all those things go into factors of why you don't move the ball. But got to go back and obviously clean some things up. Some of the penalties were penalties, obviously, and so we've got to do a better job there. After we didn't score, they tied up right there at half, right when we had a great chance. We pinned them deep, forced them to punt again, and could have had the ball back at the 40 for another chance to score again. Defense did a great job of getting a quick 3 and out. We used our timeouts just like we wanted. Had about 2 minutes left, minute 50 or something like that, and then we put the punt on the ground. And so those are just things you can't do. The 4 turnovers and only gaining 1 twice in the last 3 games. Kentucky was a 4-to-1 turnover ratio, and this one 4-to-1. And it's hard to beat anybody, regardless of what you do. If we'd have had 1 turnover and Akron had 4, we probably would have won the football game. That's the difference in the games, and that's a big difference. So we gotta do a much better job. So we come out second half, we got the ball, still can go down tied up, and then we force one right down the middle of the field on the 4th play of the half. They intercept it, bad decision, and then they march it down and score, and then we come right back, 3 and out, 4 and out, and then they score again, and then the game is sort of getting a little bit out of hand. We're playing catch up at that point, getting out of what you do offensively at that point, and that makes it even tougher. But when we did get in some rhythm in the second quarter, I did think we ran the ball well and effectively. Elijah, we got to get, when our backs rush for 100 yards, typically we win the football game. And we didn't have anybody rush for 100. I think he was 83. And so we've got to get those guys, we got to get a running game going again. Got to have confidence in that. We got to stay out of 3rd and long. And then we've got to find a quarterback that's going to put us in the end zone. That's why I made the change there in the second half. Not that Brooks was just doing super poorly. It's just we only had 7 points. And a quarterback's job, just like a head coach's job is to win games, a quarterback's job is to put your team in the end zone. And so it don't matter how well you're playing. If you only have 7 points, that's only 7 points. And so I'm going to evaluate both quarterbacks this week and see who has the best week of practice and continue moving forward. And we've got to get some guys back from injuries, and that's going to be a critical part as we move forward for the remainder of the season. T.J. Worthy got hurt in the first quarter and did not return the rest of the game. A lot of people didn't know that. So, we was in there with Travis Crawford, a freshman who's getting baptized by fire quickly. But the plus side of that, he's getting much better. Dom Jones was out, so we we didn't have him in the game, weren't able to utilize him. And so missing those two defensive backs hurt us tremendously. And so, but hopefully they're going to be back and we can get our depth back up. So just one of those things where injuries are starting to pile up. But, you know, the old saying, it's next man up, next man's opportunity. And so we've got a lot of young guys that I think are really hopefully going to take advantage of this opportunity and make the most of it as we move forward, because we don't have any time to rest, because we've got an outstanding La Tech team that just took it to FIU this past weekend, that had a chance to beat Kansas State. I watched that game at home late one night, and to be honest with you, they had every chance in the world to win that game. I kept thinking, boy, here they're fixing to win it. Somehow they didn't, but they really should have won the game. That's how well they played. And so it'd be a huge challenge going to Ruston. They've got a great back in Dixon, and then Vernon Butler, to me, is one of the best defensive linemen we'll face this year. And then they've got a senior quarterback in Driscoll, who's a senior quarterback. He don't make mistakes. He knows where to go with the ball. He's a big guy who can throw across defenders instead of having to throw between defenders, and so and he can still extend plays. And he's got some very capable wide receivers who I think can cut on a dime. They showed that last year. They were hard to cover, and so it'll be a challenge moving forward as we go up there. Big game for both schools. They came in here last year with a little chip on their shoulder, and we'll return up there this year with a little chip on ours. And so hopefully we can play well and have a great week of practice. So any questions? Well, I thought Jalen threw the ball really well. I mean, I thought he threw some strikes, and you know, he gets sort of termed as the running quarterback. But I'm gonna tell you, I thought he threw the ball as well as I've seen him throw it the other night, and that's coming off a shoulder. He hit Devin Scott in stride. Devin missed the ball in the end zone right through his hands. That was a strike, and threw some other nice balls. Brooks. Did some good things too. You know, we just can't force the balls into coverage. Jalen had an interception also with the tip ball, and then we've just got to. Both quarterbacks have got to take care of the football. Both quarterbacks did some good things, and then Jalen had the fumble, so both quarterbacks did some things that you can't do as quarterbacks. Our number one thing we got to do on offense is take care of the ball first, and then secondly, we got to find a way to put the ball in the end zone, and we got to get some things going offensively.
Most of that was in the second half. You mentioned the goal line stance there at the end of the second quarter where they held, forced them to punt back. You had to, you know, for the most part, except for the couple of situations of zero coverage back there, defense played pretty well. But you've always said you want to be physical on both sides of the line, and is that where really some of the battle was lost out in?
Yeah, I think some, except with the exception of Michael Quave, of all the five, Michael Quave held his own. I don't know if as a group if we held our own as much as we had in the last couple of weeks. Michael Quave, though, he was our offensive player of the game. He played lights out. But as a group, they went up against a really good defensive line. And, you know, you try to win all the battles, but sometimes you don't win all those battles. You know, what you're more interested in is winning the war, and the war is the game. You may not win that certain battle up front, but you still want to win the war. Find a way to win the war, and we just didn't find a way. And sometimes when you're not having success inside, you got to go to some other things, and we were just struggling, you know, with some other things, because that front was giving us some tough issues, and so we got to find some answers there. But you know what? I would trust our offensive line against any front. If we played those guys again, I think they would play better, and they held their own at times, and we probably didn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball enough early. I don't think we threw it the first 3 out of 5 plays maybe before we even ran Eli on the inside zone. So we got to try to get the running game going sooner and get some rhythm there, and allow them to get into the game a little more.
How does searching for a starting QB hinder your prep?
You just sharing reps once again. You know, that's the thing is each quarterback now, instead of getting every rep on every play against every front and coverage and check, he's getting half the looks. And but that just comes with breaking in a new quarterback and trying to figure the whole thing out. But the best thing that you can say about it is we've got two. That's better than none. And so we've just got to find out which one of those guys can get it done the most effective. And, you know, both, you look at Kentucky, we found some answers, got it going there in the second half and steamrolled, had 450 or 60 yards. We come back the next week and different type of deal, but we still move the ball. They didn't get asked to do very much as quarterbacks, and we probably should have opened it up for them in that game looking back to let them get a little more game stuff instead of handing it off and, every time on 10-yard gains. But it was just taking what they gave us. We come into this game and we just didn't get the job done. It wasn't just on the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get too much credit when it's good and too much blame when it's not. It wasn't just on those guys. We've got to be better all around as a team. This was a team loss. It wasn't a quarterback loss for sure. It was a team loss.
In all the 3 games, though, just kind of as a whole, do you feel like you're having to be more conservative because of where those quarterbacks are right now as opposed to opening it up?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit because, they just you want to make sure we're making good decisions but as they gain experience and as they show they can handle more, we want to be able to do more. And I feel like we're going to get to that point. I really do. And we're going to need to get to that point. But because he's got some good weapons. Some of our wideouts have got to pick it up a little bit. They've got some ability. Jamal still getting back in stride. We need him to raise his game. I need Eli to raise his game a little bit. All the guys that, get all the credit and all the superstar terms, we need to start playing and practicing like superstars, if that's the term they sort of get all the time. And so I talked to both of them about that. I need them to practice great if we're going to be great, and not just those two. I need all our team to practice much better. I thought that at times last week, and I mentioned that in post game, didn't think we practiced very good a couple days. We mentioned that. And typically when you don't practice great, you don't play great. You don't just show up and not play and play great when you hadn't played, practice all week at practice. And so just getting with those two guys, I just, sometimes your best players, Elijah and Jamal, they're our best 2 offensive players. And we need those. And I told them last night, we need to throw our team on your shoulders and say, giddy up, let's go get this thing done. And both of those guys are capable of doing that. You just got to come into the game with that attitude. And so that's what I'm sort of asking of those two guys. And that's what your best players have to do. And but we've also got to give those guys a few more opportunities. We got to give Jamal Robinson some opportunities to put the team on his shoulders. But a couple times when we have, we hadn't made some plays, but he'll only get better as he gets more opportunities. And so think the world of those two guys. And I think they're really close to having some breakout games. He was suspended. Yep, he was suspended for the game. A little in-house discipline. But he will be back. He was back at practice last night, had a great practice and a renewed attitude. And so I expect him really having an outstanding season moving forward. Yeah, Nick had our biggest play of the game, our tight end. And so that's one thing I mentioned to the coaches. I said, we've got guys like Jamal Robinson and Elijah McGuire and Al Rouse and some of these guys can really run like Devin Scott, and our tight end makes the biggest play of the game. And nothing bad about Nick, but just tight ends typically don't make your biggest plays of the game. They're steady guys that are ball control type receivers that can block, that can catch, that can make plays. But we need our big-time players to make some bigger plays for us. That's one thing that I challenge our offensive coaches. We've got to find bigger plays. We didn't have very many big plays offensively, and so we've got to do a better job there of creating some bigger plays.
What's the status on Worthy? Is he the worst one to come out of Saturday?
Probably so. He's questionable for this week. I think there's an opportunity that he'll play. We need him to play because, he's got that experience back there in the back end. Dom Jones, we feel certain that we'll be back this week. So, those are 2 safeties we lost that weren't available. And for not having those 2 guys, I thought for 3 quarters, our defense played extremely well considering we had 4 turnovers on offense. And so Considering those things, I thought our defense gave us, played well enough for us to win. In college football, you got to score, 24 points minimum to have a chance to win these days in college football. And that, I'm not saying that's enough. I'm just saying you don't score 24 points a game, you're not going to win many games. And so we've got to find a way to put the ball in the end zone. Yeah, we finally put that to bed, and that's just like last week. We had our first press conference in here, and a couple of you guys were nodding off and yawning and sitting in these nice, comfortable chairs. And that was sort of the way we addressed that we move in this nice facility, and it took them a week to sort of learn their way around. It changed our whole routine, and that was the biggest part. The shiny part was really, to be honest with you, fun. The kids loved it, and the recruits this weekend loved it. And it's going to be really incredible moving forward. But our routines have totally changed. They have to figure out how to get from the team meeting room to their position meeting room, and moving forward. So it was just a total routine change, midstream, coming off an open date. Sometimes open dates are not a positive. If you're playing well and you got a rhythm about you and you're getting better and you're used to the speed of the game, and then you get an open date, it sort of slows. Sometimes it slows your momentum down, and sort of felt like it did that a little bit for us too. Although we didn't probably need it at that time because of some injuries, and that did help us there. So there were some pluses and negatives to both. I'm just ready to get on back to a normal game week routine off of the open date. We're finally in. We finally got stuff where it needed to be. I mean, week one, we're trying to find video. We're trying to get stuff hooked up so we can watch film. It was just one thing after another, and so it wasn't an easy transition. But at least we have the transition complete, and now moving forward, it should be hopefully a plus.
Akron's quarterback Woodson, it seemed like when y'all were able to get a push up the middle and get in his face, get some fresh heat on him up the middle, it seemed like he did a good job of stepping into throws and not backpedaling or backing away. You talked about giving credit to Akron. Were there some things that their quarterback did well?
Mm-hmm. Their quarterback was a really quarterback. Woodson was a really good quarterback, and he was a big kid, so he could sit in the pocket, and those big quarterbacks can sit in there with people pulling on him and tugging on him. You're not going to affect him as much as a thin quarterback, and so he was a load to bring down. We tried to tackle him with a single tackles a couple times, and some of our guys bounced off like BBs. Sucker's 240 pounds, and you got a 175-pound DB coming up at him. He just sort of shrugged us off and kept going on a couple quarterback draws. And so that's a weapon when you got a big quarterback. And he threw the ball well, too. I thought he threw a nice ball. I think Akron's going to have a really good season. I think they came in with a very talented team. You can see why they're picked to finish second in the MAC. They've got some talent and some depth on the D-line. Boy, I tell you, that's hard to pick one thing because he's got a lot of positive attributes. Yeah. I would say the one thing, because everybody knows he's a great running back, if you watch him in games, and I've watched some TV games, and you can see him at the game, I think he's a team leader. I think he is that guy that throws his team on his shoulders and says, giddy up. There's a lot of great running backs out there, and he's one of them. But what makes him great is he's a leader, and he don't mind being a leader. And that's what I'm trying to get across to some of our guys, and that's some of the things we're lacking is a couple of players saying, hey, get on my shoulders and let's ride. And I think that's what he brings to that team.
Is there a possibility Barzell comes back this week, and is Ephraim Reed still looking on track?
Ephraim Reed, we think will be available for Saturday. He practiced last night and in a limited role, but I thought he looked really good, moved well. We didn't want to rush it back too fast first night. He'll be back Tuesday in a full speed role. Darzell, there is a chance for this weekend, but if there's any doubt, we're going to hold him out. If there's any doubt, we're going to hold him out. But there is a chance, and he really wants to play in this game bad, and so obviously as most of our players do. So we'll adjust that. We'll evaluate that a little later in the week. He's going to have to practice Wednesday, though, if he's going to play.
How much focus do you guys take on last year's game? Is it something where you use it for motivation, or is it something where you just say, hey, don't even worry about last year's?
No, I mean, I think you use anything you can use, you know, when you're trying to find any type of edge, and I won't have to use it. Our players know it. They've heard it since the game is over. They heard it all spring. They heard it all summer. It's been preached to them. Well, they know the importance of this game, and they know how they felt when that game was over last year. And so this is a game that they've been looking forward to. You know, they knew that Tech came after the game was over. They realized that Tech came in here with a chip on their shoulder, and they played awfully well. And we turned the ball over, and they took it to us. And so we definitely want to go up there and play much better, and we'll need to because they've got an outstanding team, and they'll definitely be ready.
Driscoll is kind of a new element that wasn't there last year. He's kind of a bigger than average kid, maybe 6'4", about 230. Or the challenge that he poses, are there any similarities to what Akron? I mean, just that quarterback that can kind of run and have the running back as an option. Are the challenges similar in any way?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit tougher. I think he's more of a true pure passer than the quarterback you saw this past week. The quarterback you saw this past week, a little more of a physical runner, but Driscoll can run the ball now, and they don't mind running him the ball. He's a big kid, but he's a guy that can really he throws a nice ball, and so he's a way more of a pure passer than the kid you saw this past week.
Coach, Tech had a little trouble in the first half against Kentucky, West Kentucky. They threw a lot at them, especially with zero coverage at the back end. Came after them a lot. In the second half, they made adjustments. How much of that's going to be weighed? Because if you're going to play zero coverage back there, you also got to get some pressure on the quarterback. And that kind of leaves you exposed if that didn't happen. But they seem to have made adjustments, and that Western almost came back and beat West Kentucky after making those adjustments.
Yeah, they. I don't know exactly, in detail, but when you play zero coverage, you better get to the quarterback. And so, but they're a good team. They went on the road, and I know that's one they probably wish they had back because they played pretty well in that game. West Kentucky, though, has got a really good football team, though. That was a good game against two really good football teams.
Why hasn't Eli been able to kind of, outside of Northwestern State, been able to kind of break out and kind of have some of those big explosive plays?
You know, we've got to, one thing is he's played some good defenses, and one, we've got to do a better job of probably up front, but, our guys are giving him some creases, and like I said, he just got to, I want him to get that tougher mentality just a little bit, and I think he's getting, hopefully that's coming because he didn't get a lot of live reps in fall camp, but he's going against two good defenses, one against Kentucky and one against Akron, and to be honest with you, I'm not so sure which one was best. Akron to me was way better tougher up front, and we, he got his some nice runs, but he's yet to pop one like we need him to do, and so, but hopefully we can get that type of production out of him.
Coach, address the in-state aspect of this contest and what it means. It's the second oldest game played between in-state schools.
Well, anytime you play in-state opponents, it's important, and just probably more than anything for fans and for bragging rights and all those things. Recruiting is year to year. You know what I'm saying? That's year to year. I don't know how much that ever weighs into it as long as both teams win some. If you ever get a lopsided where one team always wins, then to me recruiting can be affected sometimes. But anytime two opponents that's been playing as long as UL and Louisiana Tech get together, it's always a big game for their fans, for the university, for their community pride. And and former players, and so our players know this is an important game. Like I said, it's been instilled in them from day one, and so hopefully we can come out and play awfully well. We're going to play awfully hard, I can promise you that, and anxious to see how we practice this week. I'll be disappointed if we don't practice lights out.
Coach, what does Jalen need to do to win the job in a practice environment?
For us, I think it all started with Jalen. Just he needs to be more responsible off the field, and I think that's what he's been doing as of late. Just in the past, I don't know if Coach Johnson totally just trusted him, just always making great decisions. But you know what? The guy has done everything we've asked of him as of late, and I think he's trying to become a leader, and boy, he's playing well when he's in the game. We know we can't turn the ball over, but Brooks is playing well too. It's just going to come down to me, who can put our team in the end zone. And sometimes in practice, that sometimes just doesn't tell you. Somebody can really be making all the right checks in practice, but you get in the game, we don't get in the end zone. And so we need to see who can do it in a game. And both of the guys both put the team in the end zone one time apiece. So it's not like one of the two is just head and shoulders above the other one as of yet, but they'll definitely get the opportunity.
Are you anxious to see Jalen possibly, depending on which way you go, because he's always coming in behind the 8 ball? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As far as embracing that
Playing
challenge.
catch up. Yeah, you know, he's had to play catch up in both roles that he's came in, and I'm sure he would like the opportunity to start with a clean slate when the game begins. But it all, you know, that's all up to him. It's how he practices, it's how he produces during the week, and like I tell all our players, man, the players decide who plays. They decide by their actions, by their play every day at practice, by their performance, by their attention in meetings, by doing the little things, and by making plays. Coaches don't decide who plays. They decide. And so we're going to put the players in the game that practice the best, play the best, execute the best, and produce. And so that's what I tell our guys all the time. So if you don't like the view of the herd, move to the front. And so I tell our guys that all the time. I'm a Brooks Hacks fan. I'm a Jalen Nixon fan too. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a fan of all our players. I want them all to be able to start at every position. Unfortunately, everybody can't start. And so we have to make some tough decisions. And like I said before, those guys with their practice and their work show us who we should start. And so I'll be anxious to see who has a good week of practice, and I'm sure, to be honest with you, both guys will get some opportunities at some point in that game.
After watching the film, any other, speaking of starting, any other changes that you anticipate?
No, the only thing that I would see is Gary Haynes getting some playing time with Al, sharing time with Al, and we moved last week. Gave Fuselier, rotate a little bit, played some inside a little bit, had him ready if needed. He'll go back outside this week full time as Gary is back, and so that'll help because he's a guy that's really made some plays with us for us the first 2 games.
Give some credit to Jeff Schneider here on this one, Coach. 2 years ago, I wasn't here, but Driscoll was the starting quarterback in Florida.
He was.
How much does that help?
Not really, not a whole lot, because it's two different schemes. You know, that was a long time ago. I don't even remember a whole bunch of what they did offensively at that time. But, you know, he was a young quarterback then. I mean, this guy, you know, maturity is, you know, maturity is one of to me, the greatest pluses for a quarterback. A mature quarterback, that's seasoned, that's got experience, and that's what he has now. He's been in a lot of big games. This won't be near one of the biggest games he's ever been in. And so it'll be a challenge for us to really get after him, because he knows what to do with the football, and he can move and make great decisions, and he's a senior with a lot of games under his belt.
Could the QB situation change depending on the opponent?
Not necessarily. In some situations, based on what you want to do by the game plan, there's, you know, different. Each quarterback could see a different role, but for the most part, the scheme is the same. But each one of those guys are a little bit different in executing the scheme. Not yet. Like I said, we're told is he is out until we're told otherwise, and so we don't. You know, he's with the scout team some. He's also getting individual some, staying sharp, and so as soon as they give us a green light, we will plug him in, and that will change our defense when he is.
Do you see any missed opportunities for causing turnovers for you guys? And what do you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing that gets you is we throw a tip ball, they intercept it. They throw a tip ball in the first quarter, and it falls about 3 feet away from us. So we know we hadn't got a lot of breaks when it comes to things like that here in the first 3 games. You know, other people aren't putting the ball on the ground. We've put some balls on the ground. We cannot do that, but you know, it would be nice from other people to give you some of the breaks that you see on film. Boy, we're watching some film of them playing FIU and some other people, and boy, they just see all the balls they're getting, and we're just like, boy, we'd like to get some of those. And so But that's part of the game. They're doing a good job of being very sound, talking about Louisiana Tech, being very sound and taking care of the ball. And when you do that, typically you win football games. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.